a state in the southeast that has enacted what is called Homeland Security Law, particularly Anambra State Homeland Security Law 2025. And they have some very interesting clauses. We just want to take 2 or 3 of those clauses. Clause 18 has to do with offenses on use of supernatural powers. And it says, any person who under the practice of Okete or Ezenwani or under any other guise administers any substance or charm on or for any other person for the purpose of commission of any offense or for the purpose of accumulation of wealth by supernatural means other than by any known lawful means of livelihood, or who publicly propagate the accumulation of such wealth other than by any known lawful means of livelihood, commits an offense and is liable on conviction to imprisonment for a term of 6 years with an option of fine of 20 million naira or both. Any person who performs any sacrifice or dumps on any road or thrown into any water body in the state any charms, substance or items of sacrifice in flagrance of the commission of any offense under subsection 1 of this section, commits an offense and is liable on conviction to imprisonment for a term of 6 years with an option of fine of 20 million naira or both. 3. Any person without any supernatural powers which he is found not to possess, or who obtains any reward for any person in furtherance thereof, commits an offense and is liable to conviction to imprisonment for a term of 6 years with an option of fine of 20 million naira. 4. For the purpose of ascertaining whether or not a person possesses the natural powers under subsection 3 of this section, any such person suspected of misleading the public under subsection 3 of this section shall at the stage of investigation be subjected to proof that he possesses such powers. 5. An investigation made by the police in respect of any offense under this section shall be forwarded to the Attorney General of the state for review and advice before prosecution of any person suspected of having committed the offense. I won't read everything in subsection clause 19 and 20, but the subheads are offenses involving use of religious places, and 20 is offenses involving human part. You are a very brilliant legal mind. We have a peculiar problem, not just in the southeast, but in Nigeria. Money rituals and other rituals. We see it not in the films any longer, but actual sacrifices that are made. And we see traditional, religious practitioners show that they have powers to make people rich. They have powers to make this and that. And Professor Charles Soludo is not an illiterate person. He's not a rural person. He's a professor, former CBN governor. He's the governor of Anambra State. And he has signed this very law. What is your position? Is this law implementable?
Well, implementable is another issue. The very first issue is whether that law does not violate the Constitution.
Okay. How?
All your fundamental human rights, freedom of association, freedom of religious worship, because religious worship does not mean Christianity or Islam. There are all forms of worship. There's Buddhism. There is Confucius, there is Christian Science, all sorts of things, that people worship all over the world, And at any rate, if you're talking about the existence of food offerings and all of that, that has a lot of roots in the African traditional worship.
Yes.
So how do we walk away from that? Because your grandfather might be the next culprit.
This is where we are. So we have a problem for this law to be implemented with what you said. We should be expecting legal fireworks.
Well, I've not read the totality of the law, but the relevant sections which we were looking at, quite interesting, that the police will investigate, force the man to show that he has the powers and all of that. I don't know. I don't think that is within the purview of the activities of the police in the exercise of supernatural powers. That's not what the police is invited to do.
Interestingly, maybe we should have this program, this very discussion as a standalone discussion because by the grace of God, I have access to the law, and there's a provision there. Town union presidents are to send reports monthly on the security situation, crime committed, this and that, and you fail, you are deposed. And the security agencies that they have set up have power to arrest. So it's quite interesting, but we needed to bring up this most interesting aspect, which has to do with money rituals, which is very prevalent. And we've heard our legal mind say, how is it when you put it side by side with the Constitution and the freedom of worship and the fact that we don't have just Christians and Muslims. In fact, even Christians do rituals. Anambra State, here you are.
You're talking about the state of your mind, because you might be thinking in terms of rituals. The other man is thinking in terms of making money, because business is actually done at the occult level.
Really?
Yeah, particularly if you look at the stocks, places like India, No, they call the guru. He will tell you which stocks are going up and which ones are going down. So what are we talking about?
Here we are.
Men invoke the occult to do business, occultic powers. As a matter of fact, even in some meeting halls and all, if you look at the windows, it is Feng Shui architecture. They can literally look at the sun. Even a fisherman in Oron, he looks at the moon and tells you where there will be fish. Is that not correct?
Absolutely. This is it's deeper than you can just say, okay, it's a thing in the passing, but let's just leave it there. There's much more to do about that the Homeland Security Law, which is called Agune Chamber. Now, I don't know what that means. I couldn't get my Igbo friends to interpret, but we need to look at that matter again.